State, you don't have to get the real ID with your driver's license. I decided for the extra cost that I would get a passport instead, just because it was an extra cost, and I knew that I would rather put that money towards the passport.
We actually had a coworker, because we were in a conference. She didn't have the real ID, so she had to go into the DMV and get the real ID, and it was about like a 2-hour to 4-hour wait.
Americans heading to the DMV to get a real ID ahead of Wednesday's deadline. Some lawmakers are outraged as how difficult it is to actually get one or even get an appointment, questioning if the government is prepared. For more, let's bring in Kentucky State Senator Jimmy Higdon and Assemblywoman for New Jersey's 21st District, Nancy Muñoz. Assemblywoman Muñoz, I'll start with you. This has been 20 years in the making. Why are we having such problems?
I think that's the perfect question. We've known for 20 years, and for the last 5, there's been a push to get the real ID. In New Jersey, we renew every 4 years. So that means every person in the state of New Jersey has renewed their driver's license within the last 5 years. Why didn't we, at the time, encourage people to get their real ID rather than simply renewing their other ID?
Now, Senator Higdon, you wrote a letter to the administration requesting a delay. Have you gotten a response from the administration? Are you hopeful that they might be able to implement one?
Well, it was a Hail Mary, Rich. You know, it was a long shot, but I felt I needed to do something. You know, Kentucky, we had long lines, lack of appointments in our regional offices, and we were a little less than 40% compliant. So I sent a letter to Secretary Noem, and you know, the media has picked it up, and a lot of conversation around the need for real ID, and you know, the real question that's come out of this, and hopefully all the attention people can ask themselves: do I need a real ID? And basically, if you don't plan to travel on a commercial airline or visit a federal office, you might not need a real ID.
Mm-hmm. Assemblywoman, this grew out of the September 11th attacks and the security failures around that. You know that very well in New Jersey and the New York
Yes.
area. You think this is a law, though, that is still needed?
Well, I think that it is the law, so let's deal with that situation head on. In New Jersey, only 20% of our residents have real ID. We've done some some things to try to help that, which is open up more hours, but it's not enough. We should have been doing more. So, you know, we understand that people can fly with a passport, but not everyone has a passport. So we've been dealing with constituents who are in really dire situations. They need to fly, whether it's for a family emergency. They can get there, but they might not be able to get back because it's after the May 7th deadline. So, you know, as long as you have your passport. The other problem that I'm seeing is that even if you have an emergency and they can do an expedited real ID, they have to mail it to you. So it's not getting to you within, you know, you're not taking it with you that day. You have to wait 4 days. And they're also charging in New Jersey $80 to mail it to you. Now, the government's against gouging of people in emergencies. I would call that gouging.
Yeah, you should also see the property taxes in Jersey, right? Senator, you know, you look at the way that this rollout has happened. What does it say about government efficiency? I mean, 20 years in the making, and here we are. People are still trying to find out about this.
So Kentucky was late to the game. We didn't vote to implement Real ID till 2019, and we had to transition from local offices to regional offices. And we didn't really start the Real ID push till 2022. So we got to the game late, and it's going to take some catching up. Now, personally, I voted no on the Real ID, so I have a passport card as my Real ID. And you know, and that I encourage others to do that. It's you know, it's very simple. Passports, you know, it's a federal program. I argued with some of my colleagues in the beginning. You know, it's a federal program. If people need to travel, let's encourage them to get a real ID, get a passport.
Assemblywoman, 20 years ago, do you think that the state of New Jersey and other states should have just put all the information out, or even required everyone, give them 10, 15 years to finally get through this, so you don't have this situation where 4 out of 5 of your state's residents are waking up one morning and they can't board an airplane?
I couldn't agree with you more. And when you think about that, when I said every 4 years we renew, and we have had 5 opportunities to do that. And in New Jersey, we back in the McGreevey administration changed it to 6 points of ID in order to get your license. And those 6 points, almost in every case, meet the federal guidelines. So the only other requirement was to have 2 proofs of residency and either a Social Security or birth certificate or passport, which most people went to in New Jersey, we call it MVC, to the MVC to get their license. So at that time, why the MVC didn't say to the people, you have all the requirements for real ID, let's just do that now. But that wasn't done. And so now we're in the mess that we're in, unfortunately.
All right. Well, make sure to check your license. Senator Jimmy Higdon, Assemblywoman Nancy Muñoz, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having us.